Let me tell y'all something. There was a time not too long ago when people used to say India, oh, they're still catching up. They used to think India was just outsourcing call centers, yoga retreats, and spicy food. That's it. They didn't know. They didn't see it coming. While the world was too busy judging India by its past, India was busy rewriting its future. And now the same countries that used to laugh, they're quiet, real quiet, especially the United States, because India has been building not just roads, not just smart cities. India's been building weapons so advanced, so precise, and so mind-blowingly powerful that even the Pentagon had to lean back in their chairs and say, wait a minute, hold up. What did India just do? Let me paint this picture right. When people think about military might, they usually go straight to the US, Russia, China. That's where their minds go. They don't expect India to be on that list, but the game has changed. It's a whole new ball game. India ain't following the West anymore. India's leading with its own playbook, quietly, smartly, and strategically. India's been investing in technology, weapon systems, and innovation that would make your jaw drop, and not just one or two weapons. We talking 10. 10 Indian weapons that are so advanced, so futuristic, even the US had to raise its eyebrows and say, wait a second, India did that. You see, when you've been underestimated for so long, you learn how to move in silence. India didn't make big flashy announcements. No, they stayed patient. They stayed focused. While other countries were trying to dominate headlines, India was dominating research labs. And now the headlines are writing themselves. Let's start with what's moving faster than the speed of sound. Literally, the BrahMos missile. It's not just fast, it's the fastest cruise missile in the world. You blink and it's already at the target. And guess who helped build it? India and Russia together. But now India is taking the lead on making it even faster with BrahMos Roman 2. We talking hypersonic now. Do you understand what that means? That missile moves so fast it can't even be intercepted. And what's even more shocking to the world is that India is not just keeping it for itself, it's exporting it. That's right. The Philippines said, we'll take some. Vietnam is knocking on the door. Even countries that used to look down on India are now asking, hey, can we get a deal too? India used to be the buyer. Now it's the seller. Now it's the boss in the weapons market. But it ain't just missiles. India went underwater too. The INS Aryan, that's India's nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine. And let me tell you something. That's not child's play. That's elite status. Only a handful of countries got that kind of tech. The US knows how hard it is to build that. You need decades of research, precision engineering, secrecy, nuclear science, you name it. And India built it under the radar. A submarine that can stay underwater for months, carry nuclear missiles, and strike from anywhere without being seen. That's not defense anymore. That's deterrence. That's power. That's India saying, we're not just ready to play, we're ready to win. Then you got the AGY-BIN missile. This right here is India's long-range intercontinental ballistic missile capable of hitting targets over 50 kilometers away. Think about that. That means India can strike almost any major city on Earth if it had. So now that's not something India flaunts, but trust me, the world noticed, especially the EU. They said, wait, India's got ECMs now, you better believe it. And with precision, India doesn't build weapons to flex. India builds weapons to protect. There's a difference. And while we're at it, let's talk about the DRDO's anti-satellite weapon, a SATI. India literally shot a satellite in space. In space, y'all. That's a whole different level of warfare. You're not just defending borders now. You're defending or attacking in orbit. When India conducted Mission Shakti, the world was stunned. People said, wait a minute, India can do that. Yes, it can. And it did. And the US, oh, they had to sit up straight and recalculate a few things. But India ain't just playing defense. They've gone smart. They've gone next gen. artificial intelligence, autonomous drones, loitering munitions. It's all in there. Take the swarm drones developed under Indian tech programs, hundreds of small, fast, AI-powered drones moving together like a hive, overwhelming enemy defenses, making traditional air defenses useless. That ain't just war, that's futuristic chess. And India's playing 10 moves ahead. Now, let's talk air superiority. You heard of the HL Tejas, that's India's indigenous light combat aircraft, and it's no joke. Built from scratch by Indians for Indian defense, agile, fast, and loaded with smart tech. It ain't just a showpiece. It's battle ready, it's already flying sorties. Other countries, they're showing interest too. Argentina, Egypt, even Malaysia, all looking at India now because Tejas isn't just a plane, it's proof that India can build world-class military aviation from the ground up. And that, my friends, is a flex the US didn't expect, but it doesn't stop there. The US got another surprise when they saw the Arjun Mk, a main battle tank. That's a beast. It's India's answer to armored warfare, loaded with cutting-edge electronics, advanced fire control systems, laser targeting. It's like a computer rolling on tracks and in desert conditions that tank dominates. India used to import tanks. Now it builds them, and these machines are born in Indian soil for Indian terrain and tested in real-world battle scenarios. And every single one of them says the same thing. Made in India, don't mess with India. Now let's not forget air defense. The Akashang system is India's next-gen air defense system, and it's turning heads everywhere. Capable of taking down fighter jets, drones, and cruise missiles. It's the shield India needs. But here's the twist. It's also something other countries want. You see, it's not just about having the tech, it's about making it reliable, scalable, and affordable. And India nailed it. Suddenly, nations that can't afford the US systems like Patriot or THOD, they're looking at India. India is becoming the go-to provider for nations trying to defend themselves. That's a massive shift. The US ain't used to being second in line. And let's get real about HL Combat Air Teaming System. CATS Warrior, this one had everybody shook. We're talking about AI-enabled unmanned wingman drones flying alongside manned fighter jets, coordinated in real time, sharing target data, dodging radar, executing missions without risking pilots. That's some science fiction stuff, except it's not fiction anymore. India's building it, testing it, perfecting it. And trust me, when other countries saw that, they didn't believe it at first. But now they do, and they are nervous. India didn't get handed this power. It wasn't gifted. It was earned through grit, through setbacks, through years of building brick by brick, bite by bite. India learned how to turn adversity into advantage. Every sanction, every block on tech transfer, every denial, it became fuel. India said, if you won't sell it to us, we'll make it ourselves. And not just make it, we'll make it better. What's got the US really stunned is how fast all this has happened. Just a few decades ago, India was depending on outside countries for everything. Now India is building fifth-generation fighters, nuclear submarines, smart bombs, and even space weapons. That kind of leap, that kind of acceleration, that doesn't happen without serious intelligence, discipline, and vision. And the US knows that. They know that a rising power is one thing, but a self-reliant, innovative, disciplined power, that's a whole different kind of threat and respect rolled into one. And it's not just the tech, it's the scale. India's got one of the largest armies in the world, but now it's one of the smartest, training with AI simulations, using satellites for battlefield mapping, testing hypersonic glide vehicles, you name it. They're working on it. And you better believe it's not just for show. India has neighbors who poke the bear, but now the bear's awake and it's armored, it's digital, and it's prepared. India is no longer the country that asks, can we buy this? Now it's the one that says, here's our version, want some? That's a power shift. That's a rewriting of the rules. And for countries like the US, used to dominating every category, they just weren't ready for India to pull up like this. Confident, capable, commanding. So the next time somebody says India is just about Bollywood and spices, stop him right there. Tell them about Brahmos. Tell them about Tigris. Tell them about Agni, Arant, Akash, Arjun, Asat. Tell them that India didn't wait for permission to rise. It just did it quietly, steadily, powerfully, and now the world is catching up. The US is shocked because they thought India was 5 steps behind. Turns out India was just walking its own path, building its own road, and now it's running the show. They thought India was a follower, but when the smoke cleared, they realized something deep. India isn't knocking on the door anymore. By the time the world noticed, India wasn't knocking on the door, it already owned the building. There was a time when India was known for importing everything from rifles to radars, from tanks to fighter jets. If there was a defense system to be had, India had to stretch its hand out to someone else and wait for technology, wait for permissions, wait for spare parts, wait for updates. And every time global politics shifted, that wait became longer, more uncertain, and more expensive. That's how it was. That was the past. But something changed. India got tired of waiting, tired of being dependent, tired of playing catch up in a world where power was defined by who could make their own weapons. And so India made a decision, a bold one, a historic one. It said no more. We will build, we will create, we will rise, not as a buyer, but as a builder, a producer, and a seller. See, self-reliance doesn't start in the factories. It starts in the mindset in the moment you stop asking, who will give this to us, and start asking, how can we make it ourselves? That shift happened deep inside India's soul. And it wasn't just about pride, it was about security. Because when your borders are surrounded by hostility, when your neighborhood is full of tension, you can't afford to rely on someone else to protect your people. You have to have your own back. And India understood that every time a deal got delayed, every time a country backed out, every time a technology transfer was blocked, India took note. India didn't complain. India adapted. That's how the Atmanirbhar Bharat movement was born. A push for self-reliance in every field, but especially in defense. It wasn't just talk. It was a national transformation. Government policies were rewritten. Defense budgets were redirected. Research labs were revitalized. Private companies were invited into what used to be the government-only space. Young minds from IIT, engineers, coders, and innovators were brought into the mission, and they started building from scratch, from the ground up. India wasn't just copying anymore, it was inventing. And let me tell you, the results have been nothing short of astonishing. India didn't just create basic tools. It created world-class, export-worthy systems. Look around, the world is noticing the Philippines didn't just want a missile, they chose the BrahMos. Argentina didn't just want a fighter, they're looking at the TEDs. Countries in Southeast Asia, Africa, the Middle East, they're all lining up not just to buy weapons, but to partner with India, because what India is offering is a whole new model. Quality defense systems that are affordable, reliable, and politically neutral. India is not looking to control you. India is looking to empower you. And that right there is the real game changer. India is becoming a defense hub, not just for itself, but for the world. Countries that were once locked out of advanced defense tech because they couldn't afford it from the US or Europe. They now have an option, a real option. And that option is India. These aren't hand-me-downs. These are next-gen systems built with precision, backed by real-world testing, and offered with respect. India doesn't just want to be in the global arms race. It wants to redefine how the race is run. A look at the numbers. Just a few years ago, India was the second largest arms importer in the billions flowing out every year. But now those numbers are shrinking fast. because India is substituting imports with indigenous systems. And while imports go down, exports are rising. India has exported defense equipment to over 85 countries. Let that sink in. From being dependent to becoming dependable, India has flipped the script. And this transformation didn't happen by accident. It came from planning, from determination, from a national commitment that spanned governments, ideologies, and industries. It came from leaders who said, we will invest in our scientists, we will trust our engineers, we will bet on Indian brains. And those brains delivered. The DRDO, HAL, Bell, BDL, private players like Larsen and Tata Advanced Systems, they all rose to the challenge. From satellites to submarines, from bulletproof jackets to drone swarms, they built it all, and they built it in India. Now this journey hasn't been smooth. There were failures, missed deadlines, projects that had to be shelved, but every failure became a lesson. Every delay built resilience. And slowly, steadily, a new India emerged. One that no longer flinches when a global supplier threatens to stop parts. One that no longer begs for fighter jets. One that can produce its own rifles, its own drones, its own radars. One that can launch a satellite, kill a missile, and still stay humble. This isn't just about technology, it's about dignity. Because when you build your own defense systems, you're telling the world, we trust our people. We believe in our capacity. We don't need to be anyone's client. We're our own masters. And that kind of self-belief, that's powerful. That's what's turning India into a serious player on the world stage. And what really stuns people, especially those in Western defense circles, is the scale at which India is moving. This isn't one or two success stories. This is systemic. We're talking about light combat helicopters built entirely in India. We're talking about the Astra air-to-air missile that rivals anything made in Europe. We're talking about any projects like AMA, India's own fifth-generation stealth fighter being developed from scratch. We're talking about artificial intelligence being integrated into battlefield systems, cyber warfare units being trained domestically, quantum communication research funded and tested. It's a whole ecosystem that didn't exist before, and now it's thriving. And you want to know the kicker? India is doing this while maintaining peace. India is not building these weapons to start wars. It's building them to avoid them, to ensure deterrence, to maintain balance, because a strong India is a stable South Asia, and the world's starting to realize that allies are growing, partnerships are deepening, joint ventures with countries like France, Israel, and the EU CEP itself are expanding. But this time, India is coming to the table with strength, with leverage, not as the needy buyer, but as an equal partner. And the youth of India, they are on fire. Engineers, coders, physicists. They're no longer dreaming of just getting a job abroad. They're dreaming of building India's next generation tank, India's autonomous drone, India's satellite fleet. They're staying, they're contributing, they're innovating. And that's because the government, the industry, and the military have opened the door. They said, come in, build with us. And now the innovation pipeline is overflowing. Startups in Bangalore working on drone tech, labs in Hyderabad cracking new radar signatures, coders in Pune optimizing missile guidance algorithms. This isn't just defense. This is a national movement. India is not just trying to make weapons for itself. It's creating products that work globally. Systems that are cost effective, easy to maintain, and customized for developing nations, countries that were once limited to buying used equipment or waiting for foreign approvals. They are now looking to India as a reliable partner. And that builds relationships, that builds trust, that builds influence without ever firing a bullet. Even in big ticket areas like aircraft carriers, India is making history. INS Vikrant, the first indigenous aircraft carrier, was a moment of pride. It told the world we can build floating cities of war. That's not something many countries can say. And when they do, they're usually superpowers. Now, India is in that league, not by force, but by focus. There's something poetic about the whole thing. The same nation that once had to scavenge for second, hand my GS, and beg for artillery upgrades is now designing its own stealth drones, building its own tanks, testing hypersonic missiles, and writing export deals with friendly nations. It's poetic because it shows that no matter how underestimated you are, no matter how behind you start, if you believe in yourself, if you invest in your people, if you don't quit, there's no limit to what you can build. That's the message India is sending to the world, that self-reliance is not about closing your doors. It's about opening your wings. It's about being strong enough to help others stand tall too. And the fact that countries from all over are starting to prefer Indian equipment. It's not just about price. It's about principle. Because India doesn't come with strings attached. It doesn't ask for your loyalty. It earns your respect. And make no mistake, the United States sees this shift. They know, they watch, they're taking notes. They understand that the global defense market is changing, that new players are emerging, and India is not just one of them. India is leading that change quietly, strategically, unapologetically, because once you learn how to build for yourself, you don't wait for the world to notice. You keep building, you keep growing, you keep climbing, because self-reliance in defense isn't just a goal, it's a declaration that India has arrived, that it's here to stay, that it's no longer asking for a seat at the